Iron is crucial to your health. It helps carry oxygen through the body, so if you don't have enough, you feel tired and sluggish. But too much iron isn't good either. In some cases, it can lead to diabetes or even heart failure. The same thing applies to much of the microscopic life in the oceans. Iron is a key nutrient, but too much of a good thing can be bad. Overdoses of iron in single-celled organisms more than 2 billion years ago may have slowed the evolution of Earth's atmosphere. These organisms are known as cyanobacteria, and they're still around today. As they convert nutrients and sunlight into usable energy, they release oxygen. Much of it bubbles to the surface and enters the atmosphere. In fact, cyanobacteria were responsible for giving Earth an oxygen-rich atmosphere in the first place. The early atmosphere contained almost no oxygen at all. As cyanobacteria developed and spread, though, they pumped vast amounts of it into the air. There was an especially big uptick about 2.3 billion years ago. A recent study, though, says that large amounts of iron in the water may have slowed things down. Iron-rich water was released from volcanoes on the ocean floor. The iron overloaded many of the microscopic organisms, killing them off, so the atmosphere got its oxygen in waves. When there was just the right amount of iron, lots of oxygen was added. But when there was too much iron, the process slowed down, delaying the transformation to the life-supporting blanket of air we enjoy today. Science in the Sea is a production of the University of Texas Marine Science Institute at Port Aransas. I'm Holly Brawley.
Like to spend a few days in another world? Then write this down. Golden Bear Cottages, Big Bear Lake. Now, listen, this is not some corporate-owned operation. It's family-owned and operated by some real nice people. Unique? Oh, you bet. Golden Bear Cottages features 28 one-of-a-kind cabins on a 5-acre historic site. Great for families, couples, and groups. And cabins are available with 1 to 7 bedrooms. Golden Bear Cottages is just a stone's throw from Big Bear Lake and super close to 3 great ski areas. Now, I could go on all day about Golden Bear Cottages in Big Bear, but to see everything, just go to goldenbear.net. Again, goldenbear.net. Golden Bear Cottages in Big Bear. Clean, comfortable, and affordable. Check them out. goldenbear.net.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family-owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Were you involved in an auto accident? Do you know where to go for repairs? Are you tired of getting ripped off by high prices and inferior work? Then visit us at Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, located in Riverside at 6411 Industrial Avenue, Suite A. We have an award-winning team of specialists with more than 40 years of auto body work experience. We were also voted number 1 in the Inland Empire by MyFox LA. We work with all major insurance companies and use state-of-the-art equipment to get your car back on the road. We work on all makes and models of cars, including RVs. Our auto paint specialist will make sure the job is done right. At Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, your satisfaction isn't just a goal, it's what drives us. We focus on your needs. Call us for a free estimate at 951-637-1365. That's 951-637-1365. Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Fay.
Every Thursday night at 7 on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050.
Larry Burnett here, inviting you to join me for Open Season, Fridays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA. It's three guys dropping gloves, tackling issues, and swinging for the fences. Great sports talk right here on KCAA AM 1050.
KCAA, your local connection for news, traffic, weather, and sports. AM 1050, KCAA.
Hey! What the? Honey! The water just stopped in here.
They turned it off because you're wasting water.
What? What are you talking about?
You know.
Because you know it's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought. Yeah, it's pretty clear. We're really short on blue. It's time to save it, like we're supposed to do. Some say it's doom, gloom, and all our grass must go. But together we can make it and enjoy our golden state. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, drought.
From the mountain to the desert to the ocean, all across America, and back to beautiful downtown San Bernardino. Welcome to KCAA Talk Radio on NBC station. 1070, it's 1050 actually, if you're listening carefully. And just want to make sure people are awake for this. I'm Rob Starr, along with, I got to do my introduction to Mike.
All right, let's hear it for this week.
Yeah,
what is it?
It's a tireless, take-charge, talented taskmaster who is tedious and tenacious in tactfully teaching technical-type topics of irrigation technologies in a thoughtful and thrilling manner which can transcend into timeless tabloids. Mr. Mike Barron.
Oh, my gosh. Well, hey, I appreciate that introduction very much. I'm excited to be here. We've got some special guests, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about the efforts that a water company, investor-owned water company, undertakes to address all of the challenges that are brought to the fore when you get into the fourth year of a drought. I know that responding to these kinds of conditions doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of pre-planning, and it'll be interesting to see just how that has evolved over time. So I'm excited about that.
So is this week a good time for news? That's the cue. And now the update of Southern California by Mike Barron.
Well, hey, I've got to tell you, I learned about a new initiative that identifies the drought-endangered campuses throughout the country based on them being a Division I NCAA football team participant, because those are going to be the bigger campuses. And many of these campuses, not all of them, are in the state of California. But what I found very interesting was the San Diego State University, which was number 12 on the list of water-using universities. What they did is they were able to lower their water use by 43% in June versus 2014.
That's a lot.
And then in July, they were able to reduce 30%. And in August, they reduced by 48%. But here's what's really good. You know, you've heard me tell multiple times that probably the single biggest cause of water waste when it comes to irrigating landscapes is deferred maintenance. And that's because water was so inexpensive for so many years that it was cheaper to waste water by turning up the runtime on the controller than it was to go fix the problems.
Absolutely.
And what this university did, they put together a plan last year, thinking ahead, and they upgraded in advance of this summer. They upgraded their sprinkler heads. They aerated their soil, which is very critical to allow water to penetrate the soil better, for air to get into that soil, and for the root system of the grass to get thicker. And so they did that. They added mulch where they hadn't had mulch before in planter areas. And that was one of the key reasons that they didn't dig up plants or let lawns die during this drought, but rather they found a way of caring for them more efficiently. And that resonates with what you and I have been talking about these past weeks, that homeowners shouldn't be told that that the only way to save water is to take out their lawn.
Right.
Certainly in those places where, parkways, narrow areas, that certainly makes sense. But upgrading their systems, taking care of that deferred maintenance really does make a difference. And there's proof right here.
They can save so much money on fixing broken pipes, tilted sprinklers, clogged sprinklers, controllers that are set incorrectly, everything of those things we've talked about, and there's tons of money to be saved in that to do that.
Well, and UCLA, which is a well-known California university, they hired for the first time in 10 years a landscape services manager to take over managing the irrigation system, because that's a big expense if you waste water, especially now with higher tiers, with penalties, the possibility of being fined for runoff. So, we think about the drought as, oh my gosh, it's terrible. But honestly, it's really been a significant motivator to large area facilities to make progress on upgrading, on managing better, on taking water as seriously as we should, because it is a precious resource.
There's also a lot of companies who go to these large accounts and say, hey, I can save you money on your water. I can help reduce it and keep your landscape looking great. Give me a percentage. How they get paid, they'd like a percentage of the savings for that, and that works out nice for the plant.
The other thing I thought was real interesting is Metropolitan Water District. They're the master wholesaler for Southern California. There's 26, I think, member agencies, and they're doing two things. Do you know what those are, by chance?
Well, yes, I do know on one where they're looking to build the world's largest recycled water program.
That's right. That is one of them. And I think they've are working with a consortium of 10 sanitation districts, because that's where the water is that could be purified and then fed back into groundwater replenishment. Did you know that there's already a water agency that's doing a lot of that? Yep. I think you live in that area.
Yes.
So
Orange County.
Yep, Orange County, the municipal water district of Orange County.
But I got a question on what they call poop to tap.
No. See, that's so from a marketing standpoint, you never say that.
Yes,
never say that.
I know. But the question I have, because I'm reading some of the things that of people who said some of these things, they said experts have raised concerns about what happens when waters of varying chemistries are mixed in aquifers. And then a study published recently by the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology found that when highly purified wastewater is stored in an Orange County aquifer, the water caused arsenic to escape from clay sediments in a way that naturally infiltrating water did not. Now, as a man of science, I kind of like to think of all these kind of things, but and the only reason I'm saying this is I have a nephew who's a doctor. I know, and he's a surgeon. I know years ago, when all this scare on the HIV things, when surgeons wear the gloves, they always get nicked by the scalpels, and they're scared to death if they have somebody that's contaminated that it's going to get on them. So they wear 2 and 3 layers of gloves. So what happens to, it's a stupid question here, but what happens with bodily fluids of somebody who may be HIV infected? I'm not picking on just that person, but any rare disease like that. It goes into that type of water, and they say they clean it. Okay, and hopefully they do that, and it works well. So if they can do that, why can't they cure HIV the same way?
Well, because reverse osmosis is a very proven technology that cleans water to.
So why can't they clean humans that way?
Well, no.
They clean blood.
So again, I know that they can clean water, but humans are more than just water. But that's an interesting point. Now, I will say that the end of that story that you mentioned about the leaching arsenic into the groundwater basin, they detected that because they are monitoring the quality of the water at all times. And by adding, I believe, calcium or some type of other substance, they were able to neutralize that and actually solve the problem. So, I have a lot of confidence in the scientists. And, you think about it, the United States is very fortunate with all the water companies, water agencies. I've talked to many people. I've traveled internationally. The United States by far has the best, most reliable, highest quality water that's delivered 24/7 to the tap of homeowners. Reliably. Like I've said before, you don't ever see a dry out like you would see a brown out, right? So they've done just a great job. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of careful processing. There's a lot of regulations that have to be met. So I think, we've got to explore these alternatives. So
and I understand there's a talk about some 1099s.
Oh, that's the other thing. Yes. So MWD, they allocated $350 million for turf removal. And, of course, at the time, sent out the checks. Now they're preparing, just in case, that they may be required by the IRS to issue 1099. So if any of you listening got some money for turf removal, keep your receipts for what you paid your contractor to put in, drought-tolerant plant material, a new drip system, so that you can counterbalance your 1099 that you might get with your expenses. So, but yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what effect that might have on future turf removal rebate programs.
Well, another thing I came across today I thought was interesting. Headlines in this newspaper says, Dunkin' Donuts is fueling our almond milk obsession at just the wrong time. And I guess they're putting it mildly that almond milk, which is made by mixing crushed almonds with water, is now the single most popular non-dairy drink in the country. Don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't.
And
but I do have a half gallon of it in my refrigerator.
Well, I didn't come over this weekend. So. But all this means that almond milk is a growth industry. In the last 12 months, ending in July, U.S. sales for the nutty drink total over $700 million a year, according to Bloomberg. But the problem with that is one of the biggest companies that's doing that is Blue Diamond, which is a privately held big entity. And I think
it's a co-op. I think it's a co-op of farmers.
Almonds need a massive amount of water to grow. A single almond requires over a gallon of water to produce. So now they're worried about, they're promoting this drink, but now it's wasting a lot of water. So.
Well, I wouldn't say it's wasting, but it certainly uses a lot of water. But, I think with the almond growers, in fact, did you know this? The almond growers have actually hired a PR agency to kind of tell the other side of the story. So, of course, that's what's going to happen. But if you look at the amount of water used and what the dollar value is of the crop per pound, actually almonds are less economically intensive of water, or use less water per dollar of value. So depends on what metric you use, and it's just an interesting thing. That's why some would argue, like the Cato Institute, that water pricing needs to be left to the marketplace, not to regulatory agencies, because that will more reflect the true value of water. When you subsidize or when you regulate the price of a commodity to a lower level than what it takes to clear the market at a higher price, what's going to happen? People are going to use more of it. In fact, they're going to waste it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just human nature. And so once you get used to wasting it and you're instructed don't waste it anymore, or we're raising the price, all of a sudden you think the water company or the water agency is the bad guy.
Well, a lot of farmers who do tomatoes and spinach and stuff are now switching over to almonds because that fetches a higher price and more profitability to them. So anyway, that's another topic.
So hopefully when we get El Nino and we'll get that water, we'll get some of that water back. Although pretty much everybody says, hey, one El Nino will not a 4-year drought resolve, we'd have to have just a massive amount of water. So
well, that's what they say.
But it's a good step. It's
Absolutely.
a good step in the right direction.
Well, today we have some guests. We have from the Apple Valley Ranchos Water Company, Tony Penna, who's the general manager, and Ms. Carol Thomas Kiefer, who's the superintendent of operations. So we'd like to welcome them to the show. Good evening.
Thank you.
Maybe you can start off by telling a little about your water company and where it covers and so forth.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, we're up in the high desert, town of Apple Valley. We serve most of the town, approximately 20,000 connections. We serve a few parts of San Bernardino County, and we are proud to say we recently acquired the Yermo Water District, another nearly 300 customers, just north of Barstow.
I pass that a lot. That's why we like to go.
Oh, what's
Sally?
Peggy
Sue's. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Mike likes the ice cream.
Root beer floats.
Indeed.
It's a trip down memory lane.
Absolutely. So the drought affects everyone in California, but we tend to assume that our desert regions are always dry and that the drought wouldn't have much impact there. Is that the case?
No, not really. I mean, it's a valid assumption. I get it, but there's more to it. Clearly, most people recognize that the high desert is hotter and drier than the coastal regions, but we've had a big growth spurt over the last couple decades. Our lots tend to be larger, so I think our water needs have increased over time, much as they have in other areas where you have larger families, you have swimming pools and those sort of amenities. So we were affected.
So how would you say it affected the high desert communities such as Apple Valley, even in more depth? Because there's not a lot of gigantic homes out that area. There's more farming tended. There's military bases.
You'd be surprised. It's amazingly.
We don't
suburban.
get off the highway much, so we don't know.
No, but I've heard like Apple Valley. There's a lot of apple trees there, right?
Once upon a time.
Oh, okay. Now it's residential.
Roy Rogers has a museum there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've been there once, but many years ago.
No, it's amazingly residential. We have more residential customers than anything, and they do have large lots, anywhere from half acre, 5 acres, sometimes even larger. And so people developed those lots back when the water supply wasn't really limited. So they put in lawns and they put in swimming pools, and they have horses, and they have other land uses that tend to use a lot of water, more so than in the urban metropolitan areas where the lots are smaller and the lawns are much smaller, and the area, the climate tends to be cooler. So we have much hotter, drier weather, but we still have lawns. In fact, we have bigger lawns because we have huge parcels, and we have trees and shrubs because it's the high desert and it's windy. So we have probably a larger water need than a lot of the urban areas do.
I know that the state of California, the State Water Resources Control Board, issued percentage percent reduction of water use on their per capita per day number. And do you happen to know what your percent reduction is?
Actually, we do happen to know that.
Because I'd like to get into, well, once you tell us what that is, because I'm going to assume because of those larger lot sizes, you were probably one of the higher ones. Like I live in Glendora, we were given a 36% reduction goal, and
well, you're going to be disappointed then. Ours was 28%.
Oh, okay.
But let me qualify that. We've been preaching conservation for some time now, so 20 years ago, had we gotten a number, it'd probably been comparable to yours.
Yeah.
But we've made a lot of great strides in moving to sort of more desert adaptive lifestyle.
Did you, in the issue when the State Water Resources Control Board first issued those reduction goals, did it seem fair and consistent to you that what was assigned to Apple Valley? Because we've had other agency guests here, and some have made the case that because there was ongoing conservation efforts for multiple years, that their RGPCD number was probably lower than it would otherwise be. And so it's almost like the goals rewarded those agencies or water companies that kind of had the really high, high, because you could lower it easier.
Absolutely, that's absolutely the case. We look back in the late 90s when water use was probably at its peak in our community, and the gallons per capita per day was probably 350 gallons on average, which is huge compared to what it is now. Just in 2013, the average for our community was 186, still high.
Wow.
By the standards we're looking at now, but still, what a huge decrease from when it peaked in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So, and now in 2015, our peak in the summer was about 116 gallons. So
Wow.
even in 2 years, another huge reduction.
Yeah.
Has that stopped any growth, or expansion of the city with builders or anything like that?
No, it has not. I mean, the entire high desert, I suspect, has suffered from the economy of the Great Recession, but we've seen steady growth over the last 3 years. So the availability of water hasn't been the issue. I think our outreach program and that of others to, as you suggested, learn to use it wisely and not waste it, I think has been helpful.
Both Rob and I get a chance to talk to people from the water world in Northern California, Southern California, and Colorado, Florida, other locations. And one of the things that seems to resonate is the desire on the part of the water company or water agency to help customers reach these reduction goals, as opposed to the fear of, we've got the right to fine you $500 for this offense. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, certainly at our company, to be clear, being regulated by the Public Utility Commission, we're not giving fining authority to begin with. But even if we were, that's not who we are. Our desire as water folks is to, serve clean water, safe water, and to educate the public on the best way to use it for them. And not everyone is the same, not all needs are the same, but to just help identify wasteful behavior over more responsible.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, we sort of adopted, internally at least, the motto of we're here to help, and that's the approach that we take with all of our customers. We don't want them to be penalized. We want to help them, help us reach that conservation goal.
Okay. For our listeners, if they want to call in and ask some questions, the local number is 909-888-5222. And if you're calling outside the 909 area code, it's 888-909-1050. And so less water used means less water sold. That's law of economics. So with such a reduction in the water use, there must be a significant financial impact that you're probably experiencing, like other water companies.
And we have, our customers have embraced the drought and conservation. Our sales are down over 30% over the summer.
Wow.
And that does have an impact. And now, being regulated by the Public Utility Commission, and since the state is very conservation minded, they had the forethought some years ago to separate or give us a means to recover the lost revenue. So in as much as they determine how much revenue it's going to take to run the business, when we sell less water and receive less revenue, they've provided for a mechanism for us to get that in the rear.
The operations still have to go on matter what.
Well, like most water companies, nearly 90% of our costs are fixed. So yes, that revenue it's needed.
I won't say which city this was in, but for the last, I think, 8 years, they had actually subsidized their own expenses with their reserves because the city council didn't want to consider raising rates or setting tiered rates. How is the city council in Apple Valley? Do they get very involved, or how do they interact with the water company? If that's a fair question.
No, that's a fair question. It's sort of a tricky answer. We're since being investor-owned utility and regulated PUC, the town is not involved in the day-to-day activities of our business. However, clearly the partner. We have an agreement with the town to serve the town. But over the last year or so, the town has been on a mission, if you will, to acquire us. And I don't know if they're going to use eminent domain, but they're doing all the things that other cities have done when they were going to exercise eminent domain. So with respect to messaging the drought and outreaching folks and customers, it has not been a cooperative effort.
It's again, one of the things that I've personally benefited from in this seat, being able to talk to our guests, is to become aware of just how varied the efforts are of water agencies and water companies to address the drought, to keep their operations going, to make arrangements with other water agencies for backup in case, their own primary water sources challenged or no longer available. Maybe you could share with us some of those things that maybe that the typical homeowner isn't aware of, the behind-the-scenes efforts that are ongoing, whether it be to assure the quality of the water delivered, to assure the 24/7 service. But I'd love to hear that.
Sure. I mean, and that is part of running a water system, whether it's in drought mode or whether it's just business as usual. These are things that we have to do all the time. We have to ensure that we have a safe and reliable water supply. In our case, it's a groundwater supply. So we maintain about 20 active wells, and we have folks whose job is to check those wells every day, to maintain them. We have folks who do water quality, and that's primarily their job, and they take those samples and they do it on a regular basis, and we sample for a variety of constituents and send that to the labs, and we monitor that and make sure that the water is always safe to drink, always meeting and surpassing the state standards for health. We have of course just the regular business activities, having to read meters, and we have to maintain our distribution system. We have leaks. We have leaks that need to be repaired, whether we're serving 10 gallons or 100 gallons to a particular area. Those pipelines still need to be maintained. So we have all of that work that goes on, and that's all part of that fixed cost that we're talking about. So all of those activities happen regardless of how much or how little water we sell. It all has to happen on a daily basis.
How much water do you have? I mean, how long will it last? I know it's always hard to measure what you have underground, but if somebody said, okay, how much water do we got left, and how long can we go, and what's going to happen if that happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We pump our water from the Mojave Basin. It's a huge groundwater basin. It's divided into different sections. We are fortunate to produce from the area that actually feeds from the base of the Mojave River, and it's very productive. We understand from our regional water management agency, Mojave Water Agency, that there should be a good sustainable supply. We not only have natural water that recharges from rainfall and snow melt from the San Bernardino Mountains that recharges the basin, but we also rely on imported water from the State Water Project to supplement our local supplies. So certainly, if imported water supplies are curtailed, that means less availability for us. So I don't know if I would necessarily put a number of years on that supply, because we do get more every year to replenish to a certain degree what we use. But we understand we have at least decades of supply, with the understanding and the recognition that we have more coming in to replenish that every year.
I would add that since 2007, our customers have reduced their consumption by half, essentially. So I'll submit to you that we've doubled our water supply.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point. I was going to just mention that back in 2009, the governor at the time came out with 20 by 2020, and the information I have on that was that they used 2005 as the base year, and at that point in time, for the whole state of California, the GPCD number was 192, and the goal was to get to 154. And now you were saying in July, which is the hottest. That's the one month of the year that we use the most water. we were at 115.
We were at 116.
Yeah, 116
in the desert. So
yeah, in the desert,
and with larger lots.
So I think the state as a whole has, if those numbers are accurate, went from 192 on average. We're probably just hovering over 100 on average, or maybe even lower than 100. And I know that Santa Cruz is really. It's interesting. I don't know if you knew that Santa Cruz has a water school, like traffic school. So if they issue a citation for runoff or for watering on a day that you're not supposed to water, you can pay the fine or you can attend water school. And I thought that was kind of a clever.
That's a great idea.
You know?
See, that's what the Air Patrol should have did.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back in a minute on KFI. It's not KFI.
No.
See, I don't want people to think that.
1050.
That's
1050
right.
KCAA.
That is correct. Just keeping it alive here to make sure we know what station we're with.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Were you involved in an auto accident? Do you know where to go for repairs? Are you tired of getting ripped off by high prices and inferior work? Then visit us at Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, located in Riverside at 6411 Industrial Avenue, Suite A. We have an award-winning team of specialists with more than 40 years of auto body work experience. We were also voted #1 in the Inland Empire by MyFox LA. We work with all major insurance companies and use state-of-the-art equipment to get your car back on the road. We work on all makes and models of cars, including RVs. Our auto paint specialist will make sure the job is done right. At Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, your satisfaction isn't just a goal, it's what drives us. We focus on your needs. Call us for a free estimate at 951-637-1365. That's 951-637-1365. Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint.
Hey, this is Steve Sanchez, and do you know in 2007, I went off to the doctor for a basic checkup, and he informed me, Steve, you got plaque built up around your heart, and you're going to need stents. I informed him, with no offense, doc, I need a second opinion. I go off to a naturopathic doctor, and he introduces me to something called Zango. It's a juice made of the whole mangosteen fruit. You know, the mangosteen fruit has been used for centuries for healing. So, hey, what do I have to lose? I tried it. 3 months later, I go back to my cardiologist, no plaque, no stents, and I'm proud to say 7.5 years later, I'm stent free. I want to turn you on to Zango because it's the only true 100% mangosteen fruit juice. It's patented. In fact, the Mayo Clinic is paying attention because they're doing an extensive study because they cannot ignore all the testimonials around the world. I want to give you a free sample of the Zango juice today. Simply call 888-309-5656. That's 888-309-5656 for your free mangosteen juice sample today from the company called Zango.
Hi, welcome back to the Water Zone Show with Mike and Rob on KCAA 1050 AM, and we're glad you're here. So have some interesting conversation here with the Apple Valley Ranchos Water Company. Anybody wants to call in, 909-888-5222, or and if you're outside the 909 area code, please call 888-909-1050. So we're back. And
remember, you can always go to kcaaradio.com, download the podcast, and listen to the
and you can see us, and we'll give you a little wave right there. We do have faces for radio.
That's true. Hey, well, we were talking offline a little bit, and I had a question that pertains to, there's public utilities, water company or water agencies that are owned by the city, or they're a public utility, and then there are investor-owned water companies, and oftentimes, I know, like the city of Claremont, they're serviced by a investor-owned water company, and the some residents of Claremont have said, we think we could get lower prices if we, bought that company back and we let the city manage it. And I was thinking, well, what is it that might be different there, in the sense that it's good managers watching costs, making sure that all of the regulations are adhered to, and in general, my opinion is for-profit businesses tend to do a better job of managing costs than government agencies. No offense to any government agencies out there, but
your phone's lighting up now.
Oh, there you go. Is that the president? No, it's not the president. So I wanted to ask if you could share from your experience kind of the key differences between an investor-owned water company and then the publicly owned.
And your investor-owned company is located where, just for reference?
Oh, we are Apple Valley Ranch is a subsidiary of Park Water, which is headquartered in Downey.
Okay.
Well, first off, I agree with your assessment. I think investor-owned utilities, and and Rob, you're an engineer, so you can go check the stats. Across the country, our systems are better maintained. Our systems adhere to the regulations more often. We have less notices of violations, less fines, because that is our business and we do that. The word I've heard used a lot is politicize. Rates get politicized when a municipality has them. And what I mean by that is when we do capital improvements to the system, and make no mistake, water systems, old pipe buried, and a lot of our infrastructure is, from the Second World War on, needs to be maintained. And we do that, and recognizing that it's going to go to the rates. Many times you'll read that municipalities choose not to do that because it's perhaps an election year, or it's perhaps not a good time, or whatever. Engineering drives what we do. High quality water. We have a duty to serve. We take that very serious. And so I do tend to agree with you that our systems are better maintained.
Was it always an investor-owned water company, or was that taken over from?
No, interesting. I mean, Apple Valley is fairly a new town. So when we got started in the late 40s, the history was the developer wanted to build houses, knew that they would want water, right? So he formed the water company. And as time went on, it got spun off. We were owned by Getty Oil for a while, Texaco Oil. But when Park Water purchased Apple Valley Ranchos in 1987, that's when the duty to serve mindset, if you will, really was embraced by everyone.
Was that one of the builders? Was that American Housing up in that area at the time, or?
I don't well, it predates me. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
The politicizing.
Politicization.
Politicization. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Of
I like the way you effectuate your fastidious hypotheses, your obnoxious and prejudicious attitude, and anything else of that nomenclature. Go ahead.
Right. Say that again.
You want me to extrapolate further on that? Go ahead. Sorry.
So now I forgot what I was going to say. No. So the fact of the matter is that other issues besides economics and engineering come into play in public utilities just by the nature of the political process. And this is where irrigation manufacturers, we've always said, the price of water needs to reflect the replacement cost of water, because otherwise we're gonna be wasting water. And so it's that transition that's challenging when you go from the regimen of low water prices that are subsidized by general fund money or by other means. So again, I think it's because you are. Would your I guess I don't know if you call it a P&L, but is that something that is it being private, you don't share that with like on your website, do you?
No, we don't. But we're regulated by the Public Utility Commission, so the summary data is certainly available on their website.
Okay.
But to take that a step further, many of our customers have come in and asked, could you explain to me the Public Utility Commission model? Could you explain to me how you make money and those things? And I'm happy to tell you we've always welcomed them in, offered them a glass of water, and sat down with them and gone over it.
Great.
So how well do you work? What's the relationship between the city and you guys? How does that meld together, and how do you then work on conservation projects and so forth?
Well, it's challenging right now. I would say at the staff level, when we need to pull permits or do work in the roadways, that the working folks of the town and the working folks of our company, to the best of my knowledge, still have a very professional relationship, and we're able to do things that need to be done. The town council's desire to acquire Apple Valley Ranchos has strained the relations. For all of the outreach that we've done and messaging with regard to the severity of the drought and how we can help, the town's not been involved in that. And actually, quite the contrary, the town has a website where they ask people to post their feelings about a drought surcharge. And a drought surcharge is one of the mechanisms in our conservation plan to help curtail use.
Well, and if you weren't taking actions like that, the State Water Resources Control Board would be on your back, right? I mean, you can be fined $10,000 a day for ignoring the mandates from the state.
Absolutely. It's a mandate from the state board as well as the PUC. The Public Utilities Commission has ordered us to comply with the state board's order. So we don't have an option of non-compliance. But it's also interesting to point out that despite the potential drought surcharge, about 70% of our customers don't receive a surcharge. They are keeping their water usage at or below the amount that would incur a surcharge.
Are you required to have town meetings, or I would assume like every other agency you have to give notices and you have to tell people what's happening? How regular does that work with the city and so forth, or both cities that you cover?
We've had, when we rolled out our water shortage contingency plan, in order for us to meet the 28% state mandated reduction, we held a large public meeting. We've held conservation fairs. We've held a number of smaller informal meetings with homeowners associations, community groups. We've done messaging through newspaper ads, through radio spots, mailers, direct mailers to our customers. We have ads in bus shelters. Even we have our message, our conservation message, everywhere. You can't miss it. If you go in Apple Valley, you won't get very far without seeing or hearing something that tells you to conserve water.
Some of local businesses have even worked with us, and they have the electronic signs, and they'll put a drought message on there. And they've been, the community by far and large has embraced it. The folks who are getting the drought surcharge, well, frankly, they tend to be more vocal, but they're the minority.
Yeah.
And our effort is to help them, right? We'd like to see them not get the drought surcharge, and that's our effort in all this.
I think they think that might be a way for the water company to make more profit, as opposed to being part of the state mandate to discourage the waste of water.
And I'd have to say we're very guilty of not doing a better job of explaining that that's not true.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
What type, since you're not under Metropolitan and such, do you have any rebates available for what do you promote, like on water products, for irrigation products?
And I was just going to ask, because you're not within the Metropolitan Water District service area, then all those agencies that are get the benefit of those rebates. So are you kind of on your own?
Yeah, no, our regional agency is Mojave Water Agency, and Mojave Water Agency has done a rebate program for turf removal. They call it the Cash for Grass program.
So you work with Kirby
Brill, yeah. Right. And we've worked with Mojave Water Agency on a number of applications for turf removal, probably over 1.5 million square feet of turf to be removed.
When we began on the conservation, we didn't want to brown out the desert. We started a spring conservation fair a few years ago where many vendors came in and said, look, there are attractive alternatives. It's not, green or brown. Those aren't the only two options. There's a lot of beauty in other types of landscaping, in other types of hybrid grasses, and different ways to, being the engineer, you would know, different ways to irrigate some subterranean, different heads, so that our water isn't subject to evaporation. We have high winds, so all those technologies we've brought to bear, and then for indoor use we've purchased toilets for homeowners. And if you're a customer of ours and you've got one of those older 4 or 5 gallon toilets, come in and pick this one up. We're happy to provide those.
Yeah, we've literally given away hundreds of toilets in the past several months.
Wow. So is that 1.28 gallons per flush now, or is that still 1.6? I don't know.
I think we're at 1.28.
Yeah. So I think that's the new standard for new homes. I was wondering if here at Riverside, well, not here because we're in San Bernardino County, but in Riverside County, they have modified the model water efficient landscape ordinance that applies to the whole state of California. And every jurisdiction has the choice of adopting that state ordinance or modifying it for their own needs, provided that that revision is as strict or stricter in terms of water conservation. And so Riverside County, this go-around said, new homes in Riverside County, no turf. And there are other areas that have adopted a very low, turf can only be 25% of the front yard or something like that. Do you know if there's such an ordinance or a requirement like that in terms of new home developments, or is it all part just of this is the amount of water? They have to calculate the water budget, and as long as you hit the water budget, we don't care what you grow, as long as you hit, you don't exceed the water budget.
I think I'm not aware of a specific ordinance for San Bernardino County other than I think it's part of the state's outdoor water use restrictions with regard to ornamental turf for new construction. I think it's restricted use.
Okay.
Unless there's a certain type of irrigation installed.
Yeah. So they've actually because of the emergency, because of the drought, they had lowered what they call the ET adjustment factor. What percent of evapotranspiration in that climate zone is available to irrigate, and they lowered it from 70% to 55%. And in December, they're going to lower the 55% to 45%, but for commercial development only. So basically, in commercial development, the state ordinance is saying it's got to be drought-tolerant plant material, pretty much with drip or micro sprays, or what they call point source devices that put the water right at the plant's root zone. So I was just curious to see if that had how that had been rolled out in Apple Valley, but it doesn't apply. Those restrictions don't apply to obviously existing homes. So I don't know. Maybe the future is there's going to be the existing homes are going to transition because of the water cost and because of the rebates.
It'll just be photographs on their lawn.
That's right. So, well, no, I now got a social media message from I think it was True Green Land Care. We'll come out and paint your lawn. So.
That was a big business in Irvine years and years ago, back in the 80s. Does your water company get involved with tiered rates? Do you structure your service that way as well?
We do, and again, we're regulated by the Public Utility Commission, or said differently, we have to go to tiered rates. It was one of the mechanisms that the Public Utility recognized. Public Utility Commission recognized that price point makes a difference. So we have a 3-tiered system.
I like to call it conservation pricing.
Exactly. Conservation. Thank you. That's
onerous.
A better term.
Right.
Do you get many challenges? When they set a water budget, for the homes? Do you set a water budget for each facility?
Or is it basically just from 0 to 15 units? It's this price, and then 15 to 30.
It's the latter, yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So it's not a budget base, but it is a tiered rate. Again, communicating the message, the more you use, that incremental cost is going to go up because it drives higher costs of the water.
But it is all still based on our projected demand for that period. So our rates are set specifically for us to earn our required revenue, and not to just collect a lot of money for profit.
So that should protect you from the kind of situation that San Juan Capistrano experienced,
should protect us from that.
So I heard there's a second case now with, I think, Marin County, but that hasn't been resolved yet. So
it's got a long time before it hits the court.
Yeah.
The training and the things that you do, who are your biggest water users? And not necessarily in a farming or anything like that, but is it more HOAs? Is it more home? Is it residential? Who's using the most and who's not cooperating as much as they should?
Well, I can go to the larger users. I mean, clearly our school systems, because they have to have some place for the little people to play, right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
But they're very cooperative. We were working with them, and we've helping them navigate through the Mojave Water Agency Cash for Grass program. We've worked with them to put in some of the schools the waterless urinals. We're looking at a project to help them finance going to low flow toilets, things of that nature. So that's a good one. Because our lots are larger, our residential use, most of our residential use is outdoor use, but I can't think of a group that's not complying.
No, I mean our HOAs have all been really interested in learning how to cut back on their water use. They've asked us to come talk to them. We've made presentations to them.
Do you provide audits, for example, water audits?
We do. We provide free water audits. Absolutely.
When we knew this was coming, we invited all the HOLs, and then we invited all the property managers, and then we've gone to some of the larger communities to meet with them and their residents. And some of them, they've been good meetings. You got a couple hundred people there, and it has been it's been an opportunity to help, and we're very thankful for that opportunity.
Great. Well, we appreciate you coming to the show and telling us a little bit more your business and what's happening. Also, Mike and I want to reflect on the winners of our retrofit contest. They're the Jorgensens out in Long Beach. Their system is going in on the 29th.
All right.
And we will have pictures and results of that. So that will be
we offered a Facebook contest that had people submit a picture of a front yard or a backyard and explain to us why they wanted to keep their yard, the way it was. And then depending on what they said, then we picked a deserving winner, and now we're going to basically upgrade their system. We're going to correct any deferred maintenance issues and get new heads with high efficiency nozzles and a smart controller that will keep the irrigation off whenever there's at least a quarter inch of rain, and then it's going to keep the system off for an additional 48 hours after the rain has stopped, because that is one of the state mandates is, hey, no watering during a rain event or for 48 hours after a rain event. And so our system does that, and gave us a chance to talk about that. So
we're very excited about that, and I know the Jorgensens are anxiously awaiting for that to happen. Anyway, we enjoyed having you guys today on the show. We appreciate that. And listeners, again, if you have any questions or anything, you can email us at Toro.
ToroWatersmart.com. If you go to that site, we've got general articles about how to save water out in the yard, how to keep your lawn and save water at the same time. Because we find that by taking care of the deferred maintenance, getting some of this new technology, definitely can save in that 25 to 30% and keep the same yard, whether that includes drought-tolerant plants or even lawns. And you're right, warm season turf grasses, you don't water them in the winter, and my St. Augustine is staying green on only 2 days a week watering. So
and no paint.
And no paint.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening to Mike and Rob on the Water Zone, and we'll join you next week. Everybody have an enjoyable weekend, and talk to you next week.
KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Call the dogs and put out the fire. This is Baxter Black on Monday, here to start the week with a little peek at a shortcut. What holds the loaded 30,000-pound trailer to the heavy-duty truck? What holds the 38-foot RV trailer to the dually? What holds the 2-horse trailer with your daughter's favorite pony to the half-ton pickup? Well, the odds are it's a B&W trailer hitch, probably a turnover bowl, American-made, employee-owned, customer-tuned, and proud of their parts.